All right, so now what they want us to do is we want to rewrite this as a base of 2. In other words, we want 2 raised to something. Okay? And we've got to think about that. How do we do that? Well, the key is that 1 over 4 is really 1 over 2 squared, right? Which is really equal to 2 raised to the negative 2. Right? So then if I take this and I raise it to the 2x, and that means that this has to be raised to the 2x, and that this has to be raised to the 2x. However, I could simplify it a little bit. What do I do with these two numbers? Multiply them. So what is your answer?
D.
D. Oops, hold on. Yep. Does that make sense?
Oh, never mind. I just answered my question.
Okay.
Well, because I was going to ask why you raised the 2x, but then I saw that it's 1 for 2x.
Yeah. So if I push this through, it's really 2 raised to the negative 4x, right? If I push those through. Does that make sense? All right. Good question. The other one is question number 5, I believe we had a question on. So 25. Yeah. I'm doing 2 things at once. It's very difficult. I wanted you to fill it with water.
What?
Yeah.
I thought I had to rinse it out.
Before you filled it with water. Yeah, rinse it out before you fill it with water. Thank you. All right, here we go. So now this one we want to do the Cartesian plane. There's 2 ways to do this. All right. You want to take one of these equations and solve it for t. Okay? You want to take one of these equations and solve it for t and plug it into the other one. It doesn't matter how you do it. Since my answer is y equals, I'm going to take this x equals t, the square root of t, and I'm going to solve for t. So, yeah, I already heard somebody mumble in the background, or loudly, proudly proclaim, maybe is a better way to say it, square both sides. And so I get x squared is equal to t. So that means this becomes y equals 2 times t, or x squared, plus 5. Does that make sense? Which one is that?
C. That is no accident.
Well, bam with the bacon.
Yeah, bam with the bacon sizzle, that is no accident.
Say that.
Boom.
Every time.
No, you're doing the right thing.
No, you're not.
All right, are there any other questions while I'm up here recording? Yes.
Okay. I think I understand number 26. I watched the video, but can you just go over it one more
Sure,
time?
sure. Let's do 26 just to make sure. So this line passes through 2 points, okay? And we want to write an equation, a parametric set of equations, right? Okay? And what we would do is we would just go through and we would find the slope, okay? And so we would end up with negative 2 minus 2 on the top. Is that right? Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 all over x sub 2, which is 8 minus this. And then we see that the Cartesian coordinate would be negative 4 over 3. That would be the slope. And then we could solve and say y equals mx, or m times x minus x sub 1 plus y sub 2. Now if we plug this in, we get, and then we could pick like this, any value. We'll pick 2, and then our slope is negative 4 times x minus the 5 plus the y value, which is, I'm sorry, I wrote that in the wrong spot, 2. Okay? Does that make sense? Double check that. I got distracted with the water. So this is my slope. This would be my x sub 1, which is 5. This would be my y sub 1, and I wrote down y sub 1 just now. which is 2. Now, if I push that through, I get y is equal to negative 4/3 x minus or plus 20/3. And then this would be the same as 6/3, right? So my Cartesian coordinate would be y is equal to negative 4/3 x plus 26/3. Now if I multiply everything by 3, I get 3y is equal to negative 4x plus 26. Okay? And then from there, we could move forward and try to guess and check, or just do something like this. So let me show you something how I would want you to do it. This is a multiple choice practice test, but this is some work that everybody in class can do and get the correct answer. Okay? Now, if I leave it like this, what could I make x equal? Could I say x equals t and y equals negative 4/3 t plus 26/3? Would that work? Yes, that would work. It's a little easier to do it this way. So what I want to do is I just want to verify this with you guys. I'm amending it a little bit because I think just by looking at your guys' faces as I explain this, I think it might be a little too much for you guys to do it the other way around. You might ask yourself, well, Mr. Adams, why do we even do this? Remember, in calculus, we have to have a function to do the calculus stuff. So a lot of times we'll have mathematical equations that aren't functions. And so what we need to do is take those equations and break them up into functions. Now I have x as a function of t, y as a function of t, so now I can do calculus on both of them. It just so happens that they come from a function. Now, if I were to do something like this where I had y squared is equal to x to the 3rd power plus blah, 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 that's not a function. It's a mathematical equation, but it's not a function. However, there are situations in which I could take this particular equation and separate it into 2 functions of t. Then I can do calculus to it. Does that make sense? There's other techniques and tricks that we do too. Sometimes we restrict the domain. Sometimes we'll split the function up into 2 or 3 functions. It just depends on the scenario. So that's why we're learning how to write this in parametric equation. So now if I graph this as x equals t, and negative 4 divided by 3 times the quantity t plus 26 divided by 3, and I graph this, it should go through the 2 points, 5, 2, and 8, negative 2. So let's see. I need to change my t value to, I don't know, 10. Let's see what that does. Yep. So now if I plug in trace, and I plug in 5, and I hit enter, y equals 2. See that? If I plug in, how do I get to the next point? Yeah, we don't know what the t is. I gotta kind of guess.
But t equals x. So 8.
Well, we gotta get to the second point, so we would have to solve, like, what do I plug into that? Yeah, so it'd be 8, right? I heard what you were saying, but I wanted to clarify.
Right.
I didn't want anybody to be confused. We're going to plug in 8 because t is x. Not because it's, because sometimes it's x equals t plus something or t minus something, right? Okay, good. So yeah, so we would plug in 8 in this particular unique scenario.